Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today's my June wrap-up, and I have read 5,706 pages across all the books that I read, and I can't wait to talk to you guys because this was my best reading month of 2020 by far. I plan to read even more pages because I still got like 4 days in June, and I have a lot of reading to do. I plan to get to 7,000 pages, that's my goal, and I plan to get to 13 books because I've read 10 books so far. But yeah, today we're going to be wrapping up the reading that I did in June. I'll be talking about the books I read, all the series that I read, just kind of going in chronological order from how I read it. We're also going to talk about my TBR of June and like how I fulfilled it and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a good video. Make sure to like this video if you want to support me and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and also leave a comment down below on what you read in June because I would love to hear your opinions and your thoughts and all that stuff. Okay, so let's start with my TBR goals and like how I fulfilled them. And so my first one was to finish the Keeper of Lost City series, and these were the only books that I had to finish. I had 150 pages left of Never Seen, and then I had to read the last 4 books. And I can proudly say that I completed this TBR goal actually fairly quickly. Legacy took me a little bit longer to read, and I'll talk about that why that happened and stuff like in my wrap-up kind of portion of the video. But yeah, I did complete this TBR goal, which I'm so excited about. Okay, and my next TBR goal was to finish the Unwanted series, my reread of the Unwanted series by Lisa McMahon, and I had to read 203 pages of The Island of Silence, and then I had the last, I think 5 books of the series, and I'm still finishing that right now actually, so I didn't like fully complete it, but I plan to because I've been zipping through the series. Like I started the Unwanted series again, starting with this book on the 23rd of June, and now I'm already like at this book. I read this book, The Island of Silence or whatever, or The Island of Legends. I read that all in one day yesterday, which was really great. So yeah, I plan to read the rest of the Unwanted series, and I plan to complete this goal. It's just not completed yet because I'm on the 5th book right now. Like here you can see like kind of how my progress is going, and I'm like exactly in the middle of all of this. So yeah, that's my next goal. And then my last TBR goal was to start Eragon, which, I mean, it's not like a really important goal for me, like it was the least important goal, but I just kind of wanted to, you know, be able to start this in July. Like I just wanted to have all those books ready so that I could start this. That was kind of my goal. That was kind of my intention, and yeah, I'm going to be ready to read this in July. But yeah, I think I'll be able to read Unwanted, maybe start this, but this again is not like a huge important goal for me. So those are my TBR goals. I am really proud of like what I've accomplished this month in terms of my goals because I've never like actually like accomplished a lot of my goals for some reason, or like in past months. So yeah, it's like actually crazy for me to like actually kind of accomplish one of the goals that I set, and I actually didn't like overestimate myself this time or underestimate myself. Like that was great reading month for that. But yeah, let's start like kind of diving into the books that I read. I read some other books that I wasn't supposed to read and stuff, and yeah, let's do that. Alright, so the first series I want to talk about is the Keeper of Lost City series, which I can't really hold, so I kind of just go through them individually, I guess. I quickly finished the Never Seen book in like one day. Like I had 150 pages left. I just finished the Never Seen and immediately jumped into Lodestar. So this book I was just kind of finishing. I went into Lodestar, and then I went into Nightfall, then I went into Flashback, and then I went into the Hunger Games series, and then I went into Legacy. So there's kind of a difficult reading order, but I'll just talk about the whole Keeper of Lost City series first, and then I'll kind of get into it. But I'll just hold up the latest book. Keeper of Lost City series is about this girl named Sophie Foster who has all these weird talents and finds out when she is like 12 or 13 that she's an elf. She goes to the Lost Cities and she finds her true self, like where she belongs, and she has to learn all this new like stuff that she was an elf, and like that there's this all different technology, and there's all this different like, you know, language, and like she's learning all these weird things about herself. And she also realizes that like she is like not everyone thinks she is, and like she has to find out her genetic heritage, and like she's part of this like weird organization that's against the elven government. Like it's really cool, and it just gets really like deeper and more conspiratorious as the series goes on, which I really liked. I just knocked my eye. Okay, anyways, I really like Lodestar. I found myself not really a fan of Lodestar, but I actually really enjoyed it this time. Felt like in the past I haven't really liked this book, but I really enjoyed it this time around because I kind of knew what was happening, and it was just a lot more smooth. It was more like kind of deep and thoughtful, and I also liked some of the like just elven changes like that was happening on, and we were learning a lot of cool stuff, and just like the whole thing with like Luminaria and like the peace treaty that was going on and stuff like that was really cool. And then Nightfall, I really enjoyed this one. I actually like zoomed through this one because Nightfall is a really good book. I also didn't really like this like as much as others like in past rereads, but I actually really liked it this reread because I don't know, it's just it's something like so fast in the start. Like there are some slow parts, but in general it's fast. And I also just love kind of like how there's like this new reintroduction to the series almost, and how it's like kind of like I was taken back to like the first time I read it, and it was kind of almost like with the events that was going on, it was almost like a reintroduction, which I liked. And then the next book, Flashback, I actually like this more. Okay, I'll say this, like I like the whole series a lot more as I read it again for some reason, because I didn't like these books that I've been talking about, but like now I love these books for some reason. Like I don't know, like I did not like Flashback. It was a 2-star read for me, and now I can bump it up to like a 4-star read for me because there was that boring part, but like just reading it fast made it so much easier for me to read, and I loved it so much. And then Legacy, which I actually liked it less this time that I reread it, because the first time I read it I was so fast, I was able to get the information, but if you're not reading it fast, it's slow for some reason. So yeah, like this time I read it slower because it was slower, and then I ended up like reading the whole Hunger Games trilogy in the middle of it because I got bored, which I'll talk about in a second, and I'll link a video and stuff. I also plan to do a Keep Velocity's review, so I don't know, I'm going too deep into this, but for some reason I didn't like this as last. It was just a little bit more slow, and I've already read it, so it was a little bit interesting. But like as I got to the end, I was back on my like really speed read, and I really enjoyed it. But you really have to read this book fast if you're gonna enjoy it for some reason. I don't know. That's my thoughts on the Keep Velocity series. But now let's delve into the Hunger Games trilogy, which was my second reads of the month. Alright, alright, next up I read the Hunger Games series, and I've got a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts on this series, and if you want to hear more, like a really deep 20-minute long video of my review of the series, definitely check up there. Click that card right there, it's the Hunger Games series review video that I made, and it goes into like a 20-minute long deep thought video of, you know, these series, but I cannot do that. As you know, the Hunger Games series is basically about this girl named Katniss Everdeen, who lives in this futuristic world from North America, like 100 years after the demise of North America, and then this capital arrives, and like it's called Panama, I guess. Oh, Panem, not Panama, Panem. Anyways, there is basically these 12 districts surrounding a capital in Panem, and basically the 12 districts are really struggling. They're basically producing items and stuff for the capital, and are also like really poor. They're struggling. Like all the people in the districts are, you know, living in poverty, while the capital is taking in all those resources and living very luxuriously. And on top of that, each district has to send a boy and a girl each year to the Hunger Games, where the capital watches on with entertainment. So basically there's just like this interesting political structure between the capitals and the districts, and this series is all about Katniss's fight to take the capital down. And it's really interesting. The first book doesn't get too much into the politics. The first book is mainly just about Katniss going into the games when her sister is reaped, and she's chosen to go into the Hunger Games. Katniss' sister Primrose, but Katniss takes her place, and then she has to navigate the capital and the Hunger Games just to win, so that in the next 2 books she can, you know, start to take down the capital and start her rebellion and start the uprisings. It's a really good series. I loved it so much. And I guess a few like quick thoughts that I can say about this. Basically I love the characters. Some of my favorite characters, you know, Katniss, like Peeta, Finnick, Haymitch, Effie, Trinket, Cinna. Like there are so many great characters in this series, and I loved kind of like being able to like be emotionally attached to them. I was able to root for the characters. I also love the politics in this series. I really don't like it in other series, but you know, Suzanne Collins wrote it in such a way that was interesting to me, and like the whole like rebellion and the uprising up against the capital, like that was really well written, as well as oh, I also really love the world Suzanne created. It was so interesting. The Hunger Games were super interesting. Just the technology. Like, there's just so much thought and so much effort put into the series, and it's so creative. It's so creative of a story, and I just love it so much. So emotional, so powerful. Has really good, like, messages and themes, and I love it so much. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Hunger Games series. I just wanted to go quickly through that. But next, we gotta go through, let's talk about the Tales of Beedle the Bard next. Alright, so I read the Tales of the Beedle the Bard. Actually, I just finished it last night. It's also by J.K. Rowling, which kind of been reading this throughout the whole month. I've been spacing it out. It's a really short book. Anyways, but yeah, it's a really short book, so I didn't want to read it all in one sitting. I wanted to like space it out, so I read, you know, some at the beginning of the month, some at the middle of the month, some at the end of the month, and that's how I kind of read this, and it was really good. I actually really liked it because this was a kind of book that was featured in the Harry Potter series. Like, Dumbledore gave Hermione the Tales of Beedle the Bard, which was this book, and he said it was useful for their quest or whatever, and it was just cool to see like that book that was in the Harry Potter series like come alive into this like book. It was so cool. And basically this story is, or not story, this actually is a collection of stories where these are wizard fairy tales. So like fairy tales but in a wizard fashion. So it's kind of different than like fairy tales that we have, but they're all like focused on like the relationship between muggles and wizards, and it has to deal with a lot more magic stuff and like the consequences of magic and other things like, you know, the limitations of magic, like all that kind of fun stuff. It was really cool. Yeah, there's 5 magical stories. I think I can maybe like just get them up. Okay, so the tales are The Wizard and the Hopping Pot, The Fountain of Fair Fortune, The Warlock's Hairy Heart, Babbity Rabbity and Our Cackling Stump, and The Tale of the Three Brothers, which the Tale of the Three Brothers was really important for the Harry Potter series. So yeah, it was super cool to see these like interesting fairy tales because not a lot of them were happy, and a lot of them like were really deep and kind of like emotional and stuff. Like it was crazy, but there's also some really fun ones and some happy ones, and I just loved kind of the overall lightness of this stories. And then at the end of each tale, Albus Dumbledore would write like a brief or like an essay on, you know, each one and like the themes and messages and tones, and it was super cool. I loved it so much. And I don't know, I just love reading through the tales. My favorite was the Fountain of Fair Fortune, which the Tales of Fair Fortune right there. Anyways, it was a really good book. I loved it so much. I totally recommend this if you're a big fan of the Harry Potter series. It was good. Alright, last up, we have got the Unwanted series that I kind of talked about in the beginning. But basically what happened is I read half of the Island of Silence, exactly half actually, this month. And then I read the Island of Fire, the Island of Legends, and a little bit of Island Shipwrecks, and then I got to read these 2 in the next few days. Yeah, these books are from the Unwanted series by Lisa McMahon, which is really great. There's not really any problematic things to it, but yeah, I really love the Unwanted series. And let me kind of just get through my thoughts. So the Unwanted series is basically about this world, this one island called Quill, where there's this really evil like government that is ruled by Queen Justine, and basically every year what happens is there's this holiday called the Purge, where there are 3 different groups that kids are sorted into: wanteds, necessaries, or unwanteds, which unwanteds are basically creative people that they don't really want because the ruler thinks that like unwanted people or creative people are dangerous, so she gets rid of those. Wanted people are the ones that are really smart and really intelligent and can benefit the society and go off to college and stuff, and the necessaries are just people that are like necessary to the government and stuff to like, you know, do labor and all that stuff. So yeah, those are the 3 sortings. Basically the story follows Alec, who is an unwanted and goes to, you know, his death basically, and then there is Aaron, who is the wanted, who goes to college and stuff. And so basically what we find out, because we mainly follow Alex the Unwanted, we find out that there's this magical man named Mr. Today who saves him, and there is actually this whole like school, and there's this whole mansion, and there's this whole place for Alex to belong into for his creativity, you know, that he has not known about, and the whole like Quill doesn't know about. So there's like basically this whole other land that he goes to instead of being killed, and he basically practices magic, he does creative things. Soon Quill finds out about Artemis and like the mansion and the creativeness people that are still alive and stuff, and there's basically this battle between them. That is kind of the gist of it. It's basically a battle between, you know, smarts and intelligence, between like creativeness and magic and stuff, so it's really cool. I really like this series. The rest of Island of Silence was really good, but where it really starts to get great is like between Island of Fire and Island of Legends, which I just read this book all in one day at the beach. It was so great. And Island of Fire was pretty good too, but I really loved Island of Legends. It's probably my favorite book in the series yet. And basically these books are like them exploring the other islands in the world, and it's just so cool, and they're using magic to like rescue people and go on all these missions and like help people. It's really crazy. I love this series so much, and I plan to get finished with Island of Shipwrecks, which is another favorite. Read Island of Braves, and then read Island of Dragons, and then I'll be done with reading this month. I have to start with Eragon, and I think that's all the reading that I've had to do. This has been a really chaotic video, and I've had to talk so fast because I've read so many books. If you like this video, make sure to like it, subscribe to my channel down below, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to comment down below like what you read this month, and yeah, what you thought of this video, because it was a very chaotic video. And I think that wraps up all that I had to say. Thank you so much for going on this adventure. Again, by the end of the month, I'll have read 13 books and 7,000 pages. I'm going to make it happen. So it's going to be my best reading month probably ever. I probably never read this much in one month. So I'm so super grateful. And yeah, thank you guys so much for like being on this adventure with me, and I really appreciate it. So love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. If you want to see my previous month's wrap up, go up there. It was basically my May wrap up. If you want to see what I read last month, I don't know. That's just a suggestion if you want to click on that video. But yeah, love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!